What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. And an end has come. For pretty much 30 years, Power Rangers has been a main staple of television and of my life, pretty much. And as of this past weekend, Netflix dropped the Cosmic Fury season for Power Rangers, which, yes, turns out to be potentially the last season of Power Rangers. So we're going to talk about it. And there will be, as flashed across the screen, some spoilers of the season and, some of the things I liked and disliked throughout the entire show. And I will say the amount of effort that was put into the show by the cast and the crew, they all did a great job, and you can feel it. You can feel that they put a lot of time and effort into the show, and that's greatly appreciated because, like I said, this could potentially be the last of Power Rangers, and they wanted to do everything they possibly can to give and deliver something for the fans. Some of the things that I thought were cool, things that I really liked. Yeah, we got Billy. Billy returned, and it made more sense to why he returned later on in the series, and I'll try not to jump around too much, so I will table that for now. And we got definitely a more darker approach to the series. So towards the beginning, where we find out that Zed is back and he is looking jacked. He, with the revival of Zed and Squid Ink Incorporation, again, he destroys the current Zords that the team has, or the Dino Fury Zords that the team currently has. And they need new Zords, and Javi uses one of the Morphing Master's staffs to unlock new Zords, but in the process, it ends up taking his arm, which was obscenely crazy. I was like, oh, damn, we're really doing this. And he ends up getting a prosthetic later on, and deals with his own identity crisis on whether or not he is good enough to be a ranger still, because he isn't sure what his future holds with this robotic arm. So Zed's main goal is, of course, taking the Morphin Master's powers, infuse it into himself, take over the world. Of course, Earth is one of his primary targets, and he sets up prisons along planets and on Earth, and takes on or captures teams so that, of course, he'd have less resistance. Over the course of the season, we see Amelia become the new Red Ranger, and bravo girl, she does such a great job in place of Zato when Zato is teleported, in this main battle. I said I wasn't going to jump around, and I'm doing it again, so sorry, apologies for the scatterbrain, because I'm just trying to memorize and formulate a real good sentence here, essentially. Zato gets blasted through a portal by Zed, and he ends up on a different planet, and in the meantime, as the crew is panicking, the team of trying to understand where they're going, Amelia really steps up. She absolutely kills it, and Billy is able to reestablish some type of connection to the Morphin Grid by using the Morphin Master staff to grant them new powers. And she is chosen to be the new Red Ranger, and it makes so much sense. Like I said, she rallies the team, makes sure they stay together, because they're in a crisis mode right now, because one, Zed is around creating havoc, Javi's arm is gone, and in the process, at the beginning, Zed turns Ollie, the Blue Ranger, against them. So they're all panicking. But Amelia manages to keep everyone together in one line side of focus, comes up with a game plan, and when they get new powers, everyone still has the same powers, but Amelia goes from pink to red. So kudos to her and the amount of time. For 10 episodes, she really drives the point home of being a real leader for the team. I would say from the amount of Dino Fury stuff that I've seen, Amelia, I think, made it a better Red Ranger than Zato. But I know Zato comes with so much baggage. So yeah. Okay. Now, the point in... Okay, I will say that plotline, I love that it was driven throughout the entire series, the entire 10 episodes. There's no fluff. Is more of a very serious nature where there's no filler episodes, nothing like that. It's plotline throughout the entire 10 episodes, which is really appreciated because for something that, yes, we know it's going to end. We don't want to drag this out. And I know for some fans, maybe we could have used a little bit more substance, but I appreciate, what we did get and where they were able to take it. So in some of the plot lines, right, we kind of had parallel storylines, one finding Zato. They end up on, I don't remember what planet it was, because I don't think it was the home of the final fight. I don't think it was. So they find Mick comes back. Mick suits up one more time, and it's in the first episode, and it kind of sucks not to see him suit up again. But Mick his objective is to find Zato. So he finds Zato, and in doing so, they're able to end up on a planet that has its own consciousness, its own life. Essentially, it's like a living forest, and because Zato and Amelia are Zarkonian. I had it right the first time. The alien race that they are. I'm not gonna spend too much time on it, but they're able to communicate with them and figure out where he is. So when Ollie shows up with his own team of evil forces, and he absolutely hates it, we find an understanding of where the living planet essentially is storing Zato. So Ion goes to find him, gets him out of the tree. The tree was hosting him, trying to give him some type of recovery. And we find out that Zato, because he came back at the end of Dino Fury and the Morph Masters granted him another go at life, we find out there comes with an expiration date. And the more he uses his powers, he will essentially die. He will just poof. He'll go back to non-existing like he was before. And that is something Ion doesn't want to happen. He wants to be with his friend. And Zato understands, this is what comes with the duty. This is what comes with the job. And I can't just not use my powers. I can't not save people. And that also becomes a ploy, a plot line in this story. So there's real urgency there. There's real urgency to find out Zed and his master plan and trying to stop him, because he is targeting Earth and everyone's going crazy, and we need to figure out what our end goal is and going to be. So in the process of trying to this is another sub storyline of saving Ollie. They are trying to reestablish his connection to the Morphin Grid. They're thinking if they can use his dinosaur statue to essentially reset himself, he'll come back to the good side. In which Zed shows up, he's going to bomb essentially the the base. It looks like it doesn't work. Ollie's like, I'll still be with you. Just leave my statue, because he destroys the statue, and that's how they lose their powers. And they emergency teleport the ship to another planet, but they can't get back to Earth. So Zed takes over Earth, and that's how he sets up all of these jails. And if anyone resists them, they just go to jail, essentially, as prisons. So while they're trying to find out this thing, they find these schematics. Well, Fern's also on the ship because she's very concerned that Izzy isn't around. Her parents don't know where she is. Fern is Izzy's girlfriend. They're going to college together, so they have something after this. But with everything going crazy, she ends up going to the base. The base is attacked. She goes inside. They teleport. They find Fern is there. Holy shit, what the hell's going on here? So they're trying to get everything there. They find these schematics to turn the base into a ship, which is cool. And they're able to end up getting off the planet and fly back to Earth. In the process, I forgot the Robo Dino's name. In the process, she gets captured. And the Rangers are battling Zed's forces, and they can't get to her. So Fern takes one of the morphers that was intended for, I believe, Ollie, and she goes to save, I can't remember her name, but Robo Dino goes to save her, and in doing so becomes a Power Ranger, which is cool. I mean, obviously, having those characteristics to become a ranger, becoming selfless in act, shows she becomes the Orange Ranger, and the dinosaur she takes is essentially the same dinosaur that Dinobot, and even though he can't, it's not Dinobot, which is really cool too. So good for her becoming a ranger, though she only gets to be a ranger for a few episodes, right? Because this is gonna end. But it's cool. It's makes sense. It's how you're gonna end up being a ranger. Like, definitely makes sense. And it's really cool. And actually, it's our first Orange Ranger. And I will say, the color looks really goddamn cool. Like, it is so sweet, so nice. So they get off the planet, make it back to Earth, doing everything possible. We get the return of Jekyll. He is the spy for the team. And he finally gets to suit up as the Dark Ranger, and the Dark Ranger suit, guys, it is preem. It is pristine. I absolutely love it. I think there was something wrong with the suit. I don't think the helmet was right. I think they took liberties of changing the helmet, and it isn't the same as the Sentai counterpart, but preem. It was awesome. Awesome to see, especially also, I know Jekyll, he's had a full 180 in his character story from the season, and obviously he was evil, and he has a change of heart, and finally becomes a Power Ranger. He finally gets the suit up, and we do see him at the end as well. So let's just fast forward. I don't want this episode to be too long. So let's fast forward to the end. Zed, with the captured Morphin Master's essence, is trying to infuse himself with that power. And in doing so, he levels up, essentially. And he is destroying the Rangers. In a surprise twist, leader of Squid Ink Inc., she double crosses him and captures Zed in said tube as well. Because what her goal is, as soon as that thing cracks and they blow it, it's going to essentially be the same blast like Zordon, in which when Zordon dissipated, he used his energy to remove all the evil across the galaxy. Essentially, when they break Zed's tube and explode it, it would get rid of all of the good across the galaxy. So it's again race against time. They manage to defeat her. The Rangers manage to defeat her, and they teleport with the tube. But in the process of getting the tube out of there, it had a crack on it, and over time it's starting to crack more. In the process of finding out Zed's plan, Ollie's the one that tells him. So I'll come back to this because I was very confused. So the Rangers go to save him, and it's a trap, and they're gonna blow up his chamber room where they have him tied up, along with a couple other allies from past seasons. I can't think of the names. I don't want to think about it too much. And you see Zayto essentially use his powers for the last time. Now, previously we find out Zayto tells the team, I did skip over that, but like I said, I didn't want this to be done. Zayto tells the team that the more he uses powers, he essentially will die, without saying die, because it's a children's show. So he uses powers one last to save them. He puts them in essentially like the Groot Kakuna, where he saves everyone from the blast, and he ends up essentially dying. And he's going off into the heavens, and Ian can't take it, so he grabs alongside him, and he goes with them too. So the team ends up taking Ion's body to the base because they obviously all get away, and he's in a comatose state, which is also kind of curious because I know essentially Zayto's dead, but like, did they leave his body there? I'm so that's one thing that I was really confused about, and something I didn't like. I was like, did they leave his body? Because they took Ions, and there's enough of them to carry Zayto as well. So, but I digress. That I'll cover that in a disagreement or a confusing part. And in that process, while they're dealing with Zed, Ion is in essentially this white place, which potentially could be a morphing grid morphing grid heaven-esque. And he finds a person, and it's using Zayto's face, but his eyes are blue. And he's trying to talk to him, and he, this person doesn't know who he is, and he mentions Zed and the Power Rangers, and he's like, I know those. He's like, so I'll help you. And he tells him, may the power protect him, and Ion ends up back in his body, and he tells the team, and they're trying to figure out what to do with this capsule, and essentially Zayto is restored to be a morphing master, though. He is a morphing master, and he tells the team, we can't do too much, but they teleport themselves into the chamber as in a force of matter, right? I think they become matter, and they confront Zed, and they talk to him, and they're like, listen, you said you wanted to be the most powerful, but in doing so, you are currently, but you will die too. As soon as this thing goes off, you'll die. You'll not be non-existent, and that's not what you want. Right? You said you wanted to have a legacy, and this back and forth goes on for quite some time. But Zed comes around, and he's like, "Fine, I'll give you the power back. I'd rather be alive and existing than not at all." So in doing so, Zayto takes the power away from Zed, restores the Morphing Masters, and essentially puts him in his own mind prison, which is hilarious because it's Zed with his wife Rita, and she's making him do stuff like refill her drink and everything like that, and it's funny. So it's in his personal little I wouldn't say personal little hell, but his personal little prison, of course, his mind prison, which is funny. Um, I'm trying to think of the final battle, what it was. I can't remember what drove. Oh, it was the team on the ship coming back to Earth, and they had all of these squid spikes, which was used to harvest, um, where it was pretty much a blockade, and they needed help. So Billy shows up with the Megazord, and shows up with a bunch of other Megazords. So instead of seeing a bunch of other Rangers, we get the Megazords to help out, which is great. I'm trying to remember all of them, but I'm sure I know the In Space one was there, the Lost Galaxy one was there. Um, Man, I can't remember all of them. There were newer ones, so ones that I couldn't remember, like familiarize myself because at that point I wasn't a consistent watcher. Um, but it was really cool to see, nonetheless. One thing I did notice when Billy was communicating with them, there was a Yellow Ranger behind him, and I'm very curious to see who that was. But I'll talk about that a little bit later, which was something that I thought was really cool. Um, so yeah, I'll come back to that. So they help them, and the show pretty much ends with Javi doing a concert, so he's able to play guitar again. Javi ends up playing a concert, and Ian tells Billy about his experience. And here's the swerve: is it seemed like it was the essence of Zordon that Ian was talking to, and it gets the gears in Billy's head thinking, he's like, what if Zordon is still out there? Um, so, but that's how it ends, is the concert on a high note, and what I thought was really cool. And so, all right, so Once and Always came out, which was a love letter for Mighty Morphin Power Ranger fans, and the story there, it seems like there's a connection to this ending where Billy is trying to find Zordon, and that's how Rita comes back. There's that connection. Now, I know they originally said no, there's no correlation, so maybe in post or during filming this, they're like, maybe let's connect it. Let's have some connection here to understand why Billy was doing the things he was doing, and why Billy was kind of a main feature to this one-off movie show. So I thought that was really cool. Going back to the Yellow Ranger, there was speculation that could have been Trini's daughter. But then it was like, no, that would be way too ahead. And then when we find out about Zordon's essence, we definitely know now it's not her. It's not Min. I think her name was Min. Could it have been Trini all of this time? It could be Aisha, which would be fine as well. Like, these are things potentially think about. Fred Tatasciore was the voice of Zed this go around. As we know, Robert Axelford is no longer with us for quite some time, so he was very. When I see Zed and it's played by somebody else, it's very difficult for me to be like, oh man, like, it just makes me appreciate and miss the original Zed so much more. But it's Fred Tatasciore, and I think he did a really good job for it. What else? Ollie. Ollie was a evil companion for most of the series, and it wasn't until like the last 2 episodes where he tells the Rangers Zed's plan, where everyone's like, "Oh my God, he's good. He's good." So did the original plan to reset his powers in the morphing grid work? that was the only thing. Like that was one little open loop, not a closed circle that they don't really cover later on. Where so did it work? Like did the plan work, or like did he just become like, oh my God, Zed's plan like this isn't good. Like maybe I should like become good again. So that was one thing that I really didn't. I wouldn't say didn't like, but it was just like, okay, you could have explained that a little bit more. Um, I say it's a deal breaker, but it's like, well, you left that there for us. Like, are we supposed to like infer? Right? Is that what you're applying to us? That it did work and he just decided to play still double agent, which is fine. But if you at least acknowledged that and confirmed it, not just accepted that, oh my God, he was good the whole time, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's like, okay. If you confirmed it, I would have less of a problem with it. Zed, like I said, not being Robert, it's not a deal breaker. It's just, it is what it is. The Zords were really cool. I would have loved to seen more Rangers suit up. We've got Mick. We had got Echo. We had got Billy. So that was cool. And then of course we had the Mighty Morphin Yellow, but it was just open for speculation on who it could be. But them tying this ending to once and always definitely made sense, and was just like damn, like if I want to assume that it's Trini, because it starts with Billy trying to find Zordon's essence. He finds something and it ends up being Rita. Rita takes over Alpha, and Robo Rita is created, and Robo Rita is the one that kills Trini essentially. So, thinking that it potentially could have been Trini, it just hits home a little bit more too. So yeah, overall, I'd probably say the series is probably about a 7 or an 8. Because again, if this is the end, thank you. Like I said at the beginning, Power Rangers has been part of my life for all of it, because I am past 30, and it's been 30 years of just something to look forward to, something to live for. It had such a significant impact of my life growing up. So, like I said, if this is the end, thank you. If there's something more that's going to happen in the future, I look forward to it. I know there were always talks about potentially them rebooting the franchise as a whole, and make it more adult themed, and that more aligns with the Japanese Sentai counterpart, which personally for me I would love. I love Super Sentai. I watch it to this day, and I love it. I love what it brings, and I always hope that Power Rangers could attest to it. But of course, Power Rangers is a children's show. So going forward, if they do that, I would love it personally. It'd be really cool. But if not, like, hey, this is a great run that it had. Like I said, 30 years. What it's done so much for the community. It hits home. It hits home. So thank you again. I know I said thank you a bunch of times, but it really is something that hits home for me, and I know for a lot of fans too. So I would love to hear in the comments as well for this video. If you really like the video, please give it a like. I'd love to have more conversations with other fans too about what they thought about this Cosmic Fury season, and what they liked, and if they didn't like things, I would love to hear their opinions as well, and kind of go from there. So thank you for tuning into this little review, and listening to my own opinion and listening to my scatterbrain. And again, thank you, Power Rangers. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.